Stop everything now. Because maybe you're heading towards a future you didn't plan. And the worst part is, Proverbs already warned us. There are decisions that seem small, words spoken without thinking, choices made on impulse, shortcuts that seem harmless. But Proverbs is clear. A mistake today can cost you years tomorrow. This video is not motivational. It's a warning. It's a biblical warning. It's a spiritual survival guide for your future. Today, you will hear 30 direct warnings from the book of Proverbs. Warnings that, if ignored, destroy destinies. But if obeyed, they protect your life. They shield your choices. They save your tomorrow. And pay attention. One of these warnings might be exactly what God is using to speak to you right now. Proverbs doesn't shout. Proverbs whisper. But those who ignore it suffer the consequences. The Bible says, "The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty." Proverbs. The question is simple. Are you going to listen? Or are you going to pay the price later? Watch until the end. Each part connects. Each warning builds the next. And in the end, you'll understand why so many people fail even though they say they believe in God. Before we continue, please leave a like. This helps this message reach more people who need to be warned. And subscribe to the channel now, because here you don't receive empty words. You receive biblical wisdom to live, decide, and survive in this time. Take a deep breath. Because the first warning, it starts now. The first major warning in Proverbs begins in a place that almost no one watches, but which decides everything. The mouth. Before any fall, before any visible failure, before a destroyed future, there is a word released without wisdom. Proverbs doesn't treat this as a detail. It treats it as a risk. It treats it as a real danger. Because whoever doesn't control their tongue hands the steering wheel of their own life over to chaos. Scripture states that life and death are in the power of the tongue. This is not poetry. It is spiritual diagnosis. Words create environments. Words shape decisions. Words train the mind for failure or for victory. Proverbs warns that the fool speaks whatever he thinks, but the wise know when to be silent. And here is the warning. He who speaks without restraint lives without direction. How many people have destroyed relationships, opportunities, alliances, and even callings because they spoke too much at the wrong time? Proverbs says that even a fool, when he keeps silent, is considered wise. This reveals something profound. Silence, at certain times, protects the future more than any beautiful speech. There are words that soothe the heart in the present, but exact a high price tomorrow. The book of Proverbs also warns about a lying tongue, perverse words, and distorted conversation. God doesn't treat this as a minor error. He treats it as a path to destruction. Because those who become accustomed to distorting the truth gradually begin to live a life out of sync with reality. And those who live outside the truth build a fragile future, ready to crumble. Another direct warning. The talkative person will not go unpunished. Proverbs doesn't say maybe. It says it won't go unpunished. Because words spoken cannot be taken back. They generate consequences. They create reputations. They open or close doors. A person's professional, emotional, and spiritual future is profoundly influenced by how they speak today. There is also a warning about hasty words. Proverbs says that whoever answers before listening acts foolishly and brings shame upon themselves. How many wrong decisions arise from poorly heard conversations, hasty judgments, and emotional reactions? The wise person listens, considers, and only then speaks. This is not weakness. It is a survival strategy. Proverbs teaches that a gentle word turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Here is another warning for the future. Conflicts that could be avoided become long wars because of a single wrong word. A home can be built or destroyed by the tone of voice. A marriage can be healed or buried by a single conversation. The first warning is clear. If you don't learn to control your words today, your future will be governed by regrets tomorrow. God doesn't just want to change what you experience. He wants to change what you say. Because when your mouth aligns with wisdom, your path begins to align as well. Proverbs leave no doubt. He who guards his mouth preserves his soul. He who opens his lips too wide walks toward ruin. The future begins with the tongue. And this warning is not optional. It is vital. The second major warning in Proverbs directly addresses the realm of decisions. There is no neutral future. Every tomorrow is a consequence of the choices made today. Proverbs makes this clear from the beginning. The path of the wise leads to life. The path of the fool leads to loss. The warning is simple, yet profound. Not choosing wisely is, in itself, a dangerous choice. Proverbs teaches that a man's heart may devise his way, but the Lord directs his steps. Here is a silent yet powerful warning. When someone decides without consulting God, without listening to advice, without weighing the consequences, they are relying solely on their own understanding. And Proverbs is direct in saying that relying on one's own understanding is a serious spiritual risk. Pride disguised as self-confidence has destroyed entire destinies. There is a constant warning about hasty decisions. Proverbs states that well-laid plans lead to abundance, but haste leads to poverty. Haste is not just speed. Haste is deciding without discernment. It is acting driven by emotion, fear, or anxiety. Those who decide in haste often trade the future for momentary relief. Another strong warning lies in the choice of companions. Proverbs declares that whoever walks with the wise will become wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. Here, many ignore the danger. They think that friendships don't influence them that much. But Proverbs reveals that wrong relationships act as shortcuts to problems you didn't need to experience. People shape habits. Habits build destinies. The book also warns against following the majority. There are paths that seem right in the eyes of man, but in the end lead to death. Not every popular decision is wise. Not every socially accepted choice is right in the eyes of God. Proverbs teaches that discernment is knowing how to say no even when everyone says yes. The future of those who follow the crowd without thinking is usually paid for with regret. Another critical point is the lack of counsel. Proverbs says that in a multitude of counselors there is safety. Ignoring godly advice is one of the most common mistakes before major falls. The proud decide alone. The wise seek guidance. And this difference defines who remains standing when the consequences arrive. There is also a warning about moral decisions. Proverbs speaks clearly about paths that begin with pleasure but end in destruction. Decisions based solely on momentary desire can cost peace, family, honor, and spiritual future. The biblical text does not romanticize sin. It exposes the end of the road before it's too late. The second warning is direct and urgent. Every choice carries a seed. Some generate life. Others generate pain. God doesn't just want you to choose. He wants you to choose well. Proverbs exist for this reason, to prevent wrong decisions from stealing the future God has planned for you. The third major warning in Proverbs deals with something many try to compromise, but which God never relativizes: integrity. Proverbs reveals that character is not a detail of spiritual life. It is the foundation of the future. When integrity falls, everything else becomes unstable. That is why the biblical text states that the integrity of the righteous guides them, while the wickedness of the unfaithful destroys them. This is not an opinion. It is a spiritual principle in action. Integrity is who you are when no one is watching. It's the decision you make when you could cheat and no one would find out. Proverbs warns that riches obtained dishonestly do not profit, but righteousness delivers from death. This reveals that quick gains, built on wrong shortcuts, exact an invisible price that sooner or later manifests itself. The future cannot be built on deceit. Another serious warning lies in the weight of small concessions. Proverbs shows that whoever is faithful in little builds stability, but whoever despises correction walks toward ruin. Many falls do not begin with great sins, but with small permissions. A deviation here, a lie there, an undue advantage over there. Little by little, character is eroded, and when the fall happens, the person wonders where they went wrong. The mistake began when integrity ceased to be a priority. Proverbs also warns about the dishonest scale, a symbol of injustice, fraud, and manipulation. God calls this an abomination, not because he is severe, but because he knows that dishonesty destroys trust, and without trust, no future can stand. Families, businesses, ministries, and relationships crumble when truth is sacrificed in the name of immediate gain. There is also a warning about the appearance of righteousness. Proverbs teaches that there are paths that seem right, but are not. Living by appearances, seeming upright without being so, is another type of dangerous deception. The Bible makes it clear that God sees the heart. What is hidden from men is never hidden from Him. And the future is shaped not by appearances, but by the truth of character. Another strong point is the relationship between integrity and security. Proverbs says that whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but whoever walks in crooked paths will be found out. This is a merciful warning. God is saying that integrity protects. It guards. It delivers from scandals, exposure, and public falls that leave deep scars. The third warning is clear. Do not sacrifice your character to gain something now. No success compensates for the loss of integrity. Proverbs teaches that it is better to have little with righteousness than great treasures with turmoil. A solid future is built on truth, righteousness, and fear of the Lord. Without these, everything that seems firm crumbles. The fourth major warning in Proverbs touches on a point that separates ordinary destinies from extraordinary futures: discipline. Proverbs makes it clear that no one builds a solid future living only on intention. Without discipline, even the best dreams die. The Bible states that whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but whoever rejects correction is foolish. This is not a praise of excessive rigor, but a warning about spiritual and practical survival. Discipline, in Proverbs, is not punishment. It is protection. It is guidance. It is the limit that prevents life from going off track. Many failures do not happen due to a lack of faith, but due to a lack of consistency. A person prays, believes, desires, but does not maintain habits aligned with what they ask of God. Proverbs shows that the lazy person desires and has nothing, but the soul of the diligent prospers. Desire without discipline generates frustration. Another stark warning lies in rejecting correction. Proverbs states that whoever despises reproof walks the path to death. This is serious, because those who refuse to be corrected repeat the same mistakes until the consequences become inevitable. Discipline hurts at first, but it prevents greater pain in the future. Ignoring this principle is choosing to learn only through loss. Proverbs also warns about emotional indiscipline. The text says that like a city broken down, without walls, so is someone who lacks self-control. A city without walls is vulnerable to any attack. Similarly, a person without self-control lives exposed to impulsive decisions, hasty words, and destructive choices. The future of someone who is emotionally undisciplined is always unstable. There is also a warning about financial discipline. Proverbs teaches that those who are quick to get rich will not go unpunished, and that the wise manage with prudence. Uncontrolled spending, unnecessary debt, and lack of planning are not just financial problems. They are signs of indiscipline that steal peace and imprison the future. God does not condemn prosperity. He warns against a lack of wisdom in handling resources. Another essential point is spiritual discipline. Proverbs praises those who seek wisdom early, those who value teaching, and those who keep the commandments. A lack of consistency in spiritual life weakens discernment. And without discernment, wrong decisions become frequent. Spiritual discipline is not empty religiosity. It is continuous alignment with the truth. The fourth warning is direct and unavoidable. The future belongs to the disciplined. Not to the perfect, but to the constant. Not to the most talented, but to the persevering. Proverbs shows that discipline builds honor, security, and stability over time. Those who flee from it choose a shorter path now, but a much more painful one later. God uses Proverbs to say something clear. Accept discipline today so you won't be corrected by pain tomorrow. The future that endures is built with daily choices, healthy boundaries, and constant obedience. Without discipline, everything is lost. With it, tomorrow is established. Before you leave, don't let this warning slip away. If this message resonated with you, please like it now. This helps the message reach other people who also need these warnings before it's too late. And subscribe to the channel. Here you won't find empty messages. You'll find biblical wisdom for real decisions, to protect your future, your family, and your faith. Turn on notifications, because the upcoming content will continue to reveal timeless principles that prevent falls, correct paths, and strengthen your walk with God. Remember, those who listen to wisdom anticipate pain. They learn, apply, and may God protect every step of your future.